Welcome to my video series, The Heroine's Journey. Come with me and let's find your happiness. I have been obsessed with The Heroine's Journey ever since I first discovered it in 2006. I was doing my coaching program with the Hudson Institute, and I had to come up with a paper to deliver how I would use something in my coaching practice. And it just so happened that at that particular time, that year, in that summer, a friend of mine said, "Hey, come and listen to this woman talk about the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell's monomyth, in this library presentation." So I went and wow, my world was transformed. It was like, here is the pattern that connects the dots for me. Dots that started when I was a little girl reading fairy tales and loved mythology. As an English teacher, I taught mythology and had always been interested in particularly reading those books or watching those movies where a very ordinary person starts out at the beginning of the book or the movie and goes on a journey and an adventure, sometimes kicking and screaming, and ends up totally transformed at the end. But those plots just so excited me. Those were the books that I wanted to read. So then here I go to this presentation and I find that, wow, this is an actual plot, an actual pattern that has been operating in literature and in movies for thousands of years. And Joseph Campbell collected all these myths and found that they were very common throughout the world and throughout time. And so it was, oh, there's a pattern to this. And I began to research and follow it. And there I was coaching women, and I realized this could be applicable to a regular, ordinary, real life person's life. And in fact, it absolutely is, which is why I'm here talking to you and have put together these videos, because I want you to see that this amazing, timeless, archetypal, epic pattern is also a way to view your own life. And the way that I do that with you is to show you the different steps of the journey. And that's what we're going to be doing. And we're going to be doing it today with the very first step, which is called ordinary life. But before we go there, I just want to review that the first 4 videos were more setting the stage for today and going through the steps together. So the very first one was telling you about me. And then the second one was talking about the hero's journey as taught by Joseph Campbell and explaining more about him and his model. And then the third was what I've already mentioned to you, was I discovered this amazing pattern at this library presentation, and how was I going to teach it to the women that I was working with as an empowerment coach. And so I had to take it and make it accessible and easily understandable in not a simple way, but just a way that they could quickly grasp its significance and its relevance to them and move on. So that was the third video, explaining how I did that. And then the fourth is explaining the map that I did, how I pictured, how would I show this to people? How would I show the steps of the journey? And even though they're not necessarily sequential, I felt that it just helped to have a map. So that's the foundation of those first 4. And now together, yes, together, because I want to do this with you, we're going to go through the steps. And as you're doing this with me, I just want you to keep looking at your own life and consider, am I here? Susanna's talking about ordinary life. Am I here? Or maybe I'm couple steps ahead, which we're going to talk about, but let's just, wherever you might be, let's just sort of explore the step together and see where that takes us. So here we are at the beginning in something called ordinary life. And I will tell you that in the real world, not the book or the journey world or the video world, this would be called your comfort zone. It's where you most like to be and where you're relaxed and comfortable and you enjoy hanging out, and nothing there is fearful. Often we don't want to leave our comfort zone because we're afraid of what's outside of it. And there's a wonderful movie called The Croods about prehistoric man. If you've seen it, it's a great movie. And the dad his comfort zone is the cave. And he makes his whole family stay in the cave. And every night he blocks it with a big boulder. And they're bored to tears in there, but dad is afraid of everything outside his comfort zone. So fear is present in your comfort zone often too. And so they all stay in their cave until things happen. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So why do I want to talk about this? Why even mention the comfort zone if it's about the journey? Well, this is again where it begins, that everyone begins here. Everyone starts as ordinary in, again, the journey term is, this is ordinary life. So it's the heroine in her village where she's doing what she usually does. Maybe she goes and helps her mother with hanging out the laundry, or if she's like Katniss Evergreen in the Hunger Games, she's out hunting to feed her family. It's a very regular existence. And I'm wondering what it's like for you, where you might be right now. And it could be in a work situation where you're feeling kind of, okay, this is what I do. It's kind of boring, but if I stick my head out a little, then maybe I'll get noticed, and then what will happen? Maybe that fear thing comes out. Or maybe you're in a relationship that feels safe and you know it and you're sure what's going to happen, but maybe it's kind of boring. So when we talk about the comfort zone and the feelings you have in the comfort zone, it's often this feeling of, yes, I'm safe, but, and you even think about what it would be like to leave or do something different, and the fear is there. But you also feel restless. You feel maybe bored, maybe incomplete. So some other movie examples, and then we'll talk about Dorothy, because we've talked about Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz in the other videos. But think of Luke Skywalker in the first Star Wars movie. And he's on his planet. And right now I'm thinking maybe it was called Tatooine, with the 2 moons up there in the sky. And he is bored too. He's really frustrated with his aunt and uncle who keep wanting him to do chores that he doesn't like to do, and he has to take care of the droids. And then he gets R2-D2 and he's prying it to fix it, and then out comes Princess Leia and things change. But before that, he is really restless and really bored. And then I think about Bilbo in The Hobbit, and his comfort zone was how much he loved his very predictable, orderly life. And he loved his hobbit hole house, and everything was just in perfect order. And he had his first breakfast, and then he would have his second breakfast, and he just knew what was happening, and the whole organization of his day was very predictable. So comfort zone, it's what you're used to and it's what you're comfortable with. So why we talk so much about this is because I know that you have left your comfort zone before, and I know you're going to be leaving it again. And we're going to talk about why in our next video. But I want you to see that this is something you've done. And women tend to not look back and realize all the things they've done in the past, which is why in my course, I ask them to go back through their lives and record the times that they've left their comfort zone before. And they're amazed of how much they've done that. And so I want you to recognize that this is one of the things that makes you a heroine, that you have left your comfort zone before and many times. And I didn't talk about me and where I am usually, what my comfort zone can look like. It can look like just wanting to stay small and not just let me read my book and don't ask anything of me and stay small, kind of like the father with the cave. And it just makes me there's no demands out of me. Sort of like also Bilbo with his, I'll have my first breakfast and then my second breakfast. Nothing out of the ordinary happening. That's my comfort zone. But here's the thing, of course, is that comfort zones change. So what was my comfort zone 20 years ago is not my comfort zone today. So, for example, I was a conflict resolution professional. So I would help groups in conflict who were fighting with each other, talk through things, communicate, get beyond their roadblocks. And so I was working with a school, teachers, administrators, union officials, and I had been asked to do a presentation about how far the group had come because we had been working for quite a while together and they've been doing great. So about 50 people gathered for me to report on how's the group doing, which I did. And a woman came up to me afterwards, a teacher, and she said, I am so impressed by how you did that. And you're just so at ease and comfortable with speaking and you're articulate and clear. And, I nodded my head and I thanked her. And inside, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if she only knew how far I've come with this. And it was helping me see I had come so far. Because even 10 years before that, I was a wreck having to stand up in front of people, thinking I would just not even remember what I needed to say. And I remember high school having to do a book report and almost blacking out in front of the classroom. It was so hard for me. But, doing it, leaving that comfort zone, even taking small steps. Sometimes I tell people, if it's scary for you, just dip your toe in. Just try some new thing to kind of exercise that stepping out muscle. And when other people have done that, they've done things like just tried things that were new for them. So somebody took a painting class, somebody went and did a dance class, just even walking into a store where maybe in the past you haven't felt comfortable, but you do it, or eating alone at a restaurant, just anything that's new, again, helps that muscle. So I have certainly been there. And then as you do that and jump and leave, does it get easier? Well, here's the thing. I think that what's required of you gets harder. So it doesn't necessarily get easier, but I think the point about it is that, again, I've done this before, so I'm going to go for it, leave this comfort zone, and I'll be okay. I was okay before, I'll be okay now. So I wonder if we could think about Dorothy. So if you'll remember, and I'm thinking here and asking you to reminisce about the movie. The book is a little different, from, well, maybe more than a little different from the movie. For example, you probably are sure that her slippers are ruby slippers, but in the book, L. Frank Baum had them as silver slippers. But in the movie, you'll remember before the tornado, she is just kicking around on her aunt and uncle's farm, sort of like Luke Skywalker, and she's bored and nobody's paying attention to her. She feels ignored. Auntie M and her uncle are preparing for the upcoming storm. They're counting chickens. There are 3 friendly farm hands who we run into again in the movie. And they're not even though they like her and they tease her, they're not even paying attention to her. And she's in trouble because you'll remember that Toto, her lovely little dog, was digging up Miss Gulch's garden. So Miss Gulch is out on the warpath for Dorothy and coming for her and Toto. And so she is really kind of miserable and feeling very restless. She gets up on the fence stile and she starts balancing there and falls into the pigsty. So she's kind of lost. And I think if you think about her, just nothing seems to work for her. Everything she's trying, it's kind of how we are. It can be in a comfort zone in ordinary life. And what's great about this is if you come to recognize those feelings of restlessness and feelings of being out of sync, you might be able to tell yourself, oh, I wonder if this is about an upcoming change. And it's interesting, when she falls into that pigsty, it's like she's about to fall into something much bigger, a much bigger adventure. And so in a way, yeah, what might be happening in ordinary life for you or in your comfort zone might be a reflection of what's going to happen if you accept the call that you're going to get to go on an adventure. And that's going to be our next video, so I won't go into that. But let me just ask you, where are you in your comfort zone right now? And is it that maybe you have a relationship that's not working for you? Or maybe work, maybe you're like Dorothy at work and bored and restless and feeling out of sync. What's your comfort zone, your current comfort zone? And here's the other thing. There's nothing wrong with hanging out in your comfort zone and staying there. And timing is everything. And there might be a good reason to just stay there. Maybe you've just returned from an adventure where you tried something new and went for it and really left your comfort zone and you were really challenged by it and achieved something amazing. Well, then seriously, you'd need to rest in your comfort zone. But a heroine, it's really how we evolve and grow, is that a human being gets prodded to keep stretching and growing and evolving. So it's going to keep happening. And again, the more it happens, the more you build that muscle memory and the better you become at it, the more maybe willing you are to just go for it. So, dear heroines, thank you very much for accompanying me on the journey. And you remember, you are a heroine.